Let's talk about who is eligible to get a green card after they've overstayed their visa in the United States. So first of all, let me start by saying anyone who's overstayed and is not in some sort of other status, even provisional status like TPS or something like DACA, is at major risk of being placed into deportation proceedings right now, assuming that they don't already have a final order of removal and are already subject to deportation from the United States. This video is for people who don't have a final order of removal, although even some people with a final order of removal can still qualify for some of these things like a U visa. And for other categories like adjustment of status based on family petitions, we will often have to do a motion to reopen the removal proceedings along with the adjustment of status. It's a multi-step process. I was going to say bifurcated, but it's actually more than 2 steps when you have an old removal order and you're trying to get a green card, for example, through marriage to a US citizen. I'm also not going to discuss every way that someone who's out of status can fix their status. I'm going to mostly discuss the most common ways. So as I already alluded, family-based adjustment of status might be a viable option, but there's a lot of confusion here about which categories a family member qualify once you're out of status. So let's say you overstayed your tourist visa and you're an adult and you have no kids. In that case, there's only one category of family petition that would allow you to adjust status once you're out of status entirely, and that would be marriage to a US citizen spouse. Ordinarily, there are 3 categories of family petitions that would allow you to adjust status if you're out of status. One would be marriage to a US citizen spouse. Other would be if you have a US citizen son or daughter who's over age 21 and can petition for you. And the third would be if you're a minor child and you have a US citizen parent who's petitioning for you. So those are the 3 categories that USCIS calls immediate relative petitions. But if you have no kids and you're an adult and you've overstayed your visa, practically speaking, that means that the only family-based category that will allow you to fix your status from within the US is going to be marriage to a US citizen. Now, a common question I get is, what about marriage to a permanent resident? Or I have a sibling who's a US citizen, can they petition for me? Or I'm an adult, but my parents are US citizens, or my parents are permanent residents, can they petition for me? And the answer is yes, they can petition for you, but you cannot use that petition, and by petition I mean I-130 family petition, to adjust status from within the United States because you're out of status. Those are called, by the way, preference category petitions, which are different from immediate relative petitions. Immediate relative petitions, with those, USCIS doesn't care if you're out of status in the United States. But with a preference category petition, you must be in a valid non-immigrant visa status on the day that USCIS receives your I-485 application to adjust status to permanent residence. If you're out of status because you overstayed your visa and now your parent is filing a petition for you, you can't adjust status from within the US. We're gonna have to figure out a way for you to consular process from outside of the US, and you'll likely need an unlawful presence waiver before you leave. And something I haven't even touched on yet is these preference category petitions have visa backlogs. So for example, a parent who's a permanent resident petitioning for an adult unmarried son or daughter can easily take 10 years before the visa's even available. And then after the visa's available, you still can't adjust status because you're not in a valid non-immigrant visa status. We would have to transfer the case to a consulate. If you have more than a year of unlawful presence, we'll need an unlawful presence waiver before you leave the US, assuming it gets approved, then you can leave the US. Adjustment of status in this context is going to be limited to marriage to a US citizen or a US citizen son or daughter who's over 21 petitioning for you, or if you're a child, a US citizen parent petitioning for you. I want to talk about 2 other categories that people regularly use to adjust their status even if they've overstayed. And one of those is called a U visa. A U visa is for victims of crimes. If you just Google USCIS U visa, there's a lot of information on the USCIS main page about which crimes qualify, but generally speaking, there are several requirements. One, you need to have cooperated in some capacity with some law enforcement. That could be the police department, that could be the prosecutor's office. There are even some instances where you can ask the individual judge to sign off on the U visa certification. So let's say, for example, you were assaulted and you called the police to report the crime. A police officer shows up, takes your witness statement, and asks you if you're willing to remain available in case they find the guy and they need you to be a witness at trial, and you say yes. And then the officer does some investigation, they're not able to find the guy. And then you come into my office and you ask me, what are your immigration options? And I tell you, well, actually, you cooperated with law enforcement. You could probably qualify for a U visa. We would have to ask the police department to sign a U visa certification, basically indicating what was the crime that you were the victim of, and were you available as a cooperating witness. Essentially, that's what the U visa certification says. A lot of police departments have a specific unit that deals with these requests. Oftentimes it's the records unit, but not always. Depends on the specific police department. We would contact them, ask them if they're willing to certify for a U visa. Oftentimes, if you were available and you assisted in some capacity, they will assist by certifying the U visa. And then you would take that U visa certification. It's called the 918 Supplement B form. And then you would use that with the remainder of the U visa application forms and submit everything to USCIS. U visas take a few years to process, and they might not even look at your application for like 3 to 5 years after you've submitted it. It's common for the U visa process to take 5 to 7 years total, but sometimes if you have a strong case, you'll get a provisional U visa application and deferred action before the final U visa approval. So it's called the prima facie determination of eligibility. If you get one of these letters, it'll oftentimes be like 3 to 5 years after you file for the U visa. That can offer you some limited protections under normal circumstances. Unclear whether it would offer any protection under the Trump administration, but also once you get that prima facie determination, you can oftentimes apply for employment authorization and get a temporary work permit while they continue processing your U visa application. Eventually, there will likely be an interview at the USCIS office. And if all goes well and you're granted the U visa, you'll be on a pathway to permanent residence where you could apply for a green card down the road. The final category that I want to discuss today, again, this is not an exhaustive list of all your options, but I would say this constitutes most of the options that people have available once they've overstayed if they want to adjust status from within the US. Again, not considering preference category petitions where you have to go outside of the US. That would be VAWA, which stands for Violence Against Women Act. This isn't just for women. You can be of any gender and apply for this. You basically have to be the victim of abuse or cruel and inhumane treatment by someone who is your spouse or similarly situated to a spouse, like a long-term domestic partner or something like that. And you can apply for this VAWA self-petition. You petition for yourself, even if you're out of status. And it is a good pathway for some people if they've actually been the victim of abuse by a qualifying partner. I will add that there have been a lot of fraud with VAWA applications, particularly during the last few years of the Biden administration. I've seen a lot of these shady service providers who are not really attorneys, but they kind of hold themselves as legal experts for immigration. We call them, the attorneys in my circle, we call them notarios. These offices are all over major cities. You can identify them when they say like, we do immigration, tax documents, like sending money to your home country. That's the common theme for these little offices. And they make lots of mistakes, and sometimes they engage in straight up fraud. And I've seen many situations where people are in my office and they said like, I'm fixing my immigration status. And when I ask them questions about how they're fixing it, something seems off. So I asked to see their work permit because they now have a work permit. And it turns out that they have a pending VAWA petition that they didn't even know about. And I've heard of situations where people also get advance parole, permission to travel internationally based on this pending VAWA petition. And they travel, they go back to their home country, and when they re-enter the US, sometimes they're detained. or the customs officers will pull them to the side because they've become aware that there's a lot of fraud with these VAWA petitions. And they'll ask them questions like, who was the spouse who was abusing you? And sometimes people have no idea that their petition or their employment authorization or permission to travel was even based on an abuse allegation. And those people end up in big trouble when they try to re-enter the US. So just be careful with VAWA self-petitions. Make sure you actually qualify if you're considering submitting an application like this. All right, one final thing that I would just want to touch on, because I know a lot of people are wondering this. If you are out of status, you cannot change your status from within the US to an employment-based visa category. You need to be in a valid non-immigrant status if you want to do a change of status from, for example, your tourist visa or student visa or employment-based visa to a different employment-based visa category. Once you're out of status, the only way to do that is from a consulate abroad. And if you have more than a year of unlawful presence before you want to go to a consulate abroad, you could end up triggering a 10-year bar preventing you from coming back. So be super careful. I see lots of instances where people apply for employment-based categories and I don't understand why they did it. Sometimes a lawyer will tell them, like, you know, you might qualify for stuff down the road. They keep it really wishy-washy. They don't really explain, like, the chances of this actually panning out into a green card are like less than 1%. And that's probably being generous. I tell people oftentimes when I see this happen that they've just completely wasted their money and there's no realistic chance that this is going to result in a green card unless there's some sort of like novel immigration reform. There was an instance in 2001 where there was something like this called 245I that allowed anyone who had any sort of petition that was filed in good faith pending before April 30th, 2001, they could be grandfathered into an easier pathway to permanent residence, to put it very simply and severely oversimplify what 245I is. I've heard of lawyers saying like, well, if something like that happens again, all these clients will not qualify. But yeah, I mean, you're taking people's money based on something that's super speculative, which oftentimes attorneys haven't fully explained to their clients. So I'm wary of those situations as well. All right, guys, that brings us to the end of today's video. If you have any questions, you could always schedule a consultation directly with me. My name is Pouyan Darian. I'm an immigration attorney handling these cases nationwide. I focus on family-based immigration, naturalization, and deportation defense litigation. So if you have any questions about any of these topics and you want to speak with an attorney, even if you want to just get advice or handle your case yourself, I'm your guy. And the way to do that is to schedule a consultation by clicking the link in the video description below or calling my office to ask questions or schedule a consultation. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time for another video.